it's Courtney with Black Girls Travel, and I am back because I am pleasantly surprised that I have gotten emails and Facebook messages and everything from you guys. It sounds like my talking has helped, and I have actually convinced some of you guys to actually stay in a hostel. So big thumbs up to you guys who have emailed me or messaged me because you are considering it. But with those emails, I also got some questions as to if I have any tips or recommendations for people who have never stayed in a hostel. And yes, I do have some tips and recommendations for you guys. I totally know what it's like. I remember when I first stayed in my first hostel, I was like, oh my god, I'm sleeping with a bunch of people I've never met before. OMG, what the heck is gonna happen to me? So I totally get it. And there was also that snobby part of me that had to come off my high horse that was just like, oh no, I don't do hostels. I only do 5-star hotels. I'm just kidding. I don't do 5-star hotels. Well, I do, but Priceline, Hotwire. But yeah, anyways, so I'm happy that you guys are actually considering it. So I wrote it all out of my phone. So I am going to be super tacky, and I'm going to reference my phone back and forth to make sure that I don't forget anything. So here we go. Tip numero uno. Okay, so one of the biggest misconceptions about staying in a hostel is that you have to be like 25 or younger. Totally not true. Biggest lie ever told. Now there are some hostels that cater to the 20-something crowd, the partiers, the drinkers, where you're gonna have people stumbling into the room at all hours of the night. But not every hostel is like that. So you need to do your research. You need to check TripAdvisor. You need to check Yelp. You need to go on to YouTube and YouTube the hostel to see if anybody has done a review or a walkthrough. Usually if it says things like party hostel, alcohol friendly, beer crawl, anything like that, it's typically going to be a hostel that caters to a younger crowd. However, if you can read between the lines and you see things that say boring, not a lot of interaction, that is typically a hostel that caters to a crowd that may not always be older, but it's more a mellow crowd. And those are typically the hostels that I look for. I'm 35 years old. My drinking days were over like 10 years ago, okay? So my whole thing when I travel is not to get turned up. So if that's your whole thing, to get turned up, and there's nothing wrong with that if you're 25, but make sure you end up in the right hostel. So along with that is, like I said, never think that you're too old to stay in a hostel. Also, never think that you can't travel with kids. There are a lot of hostels out there that will allow you to travel with kids. I have not done it with my daughter yet. It is on my must-do list of things to do, but just know that if you are traveling with a family or with a child, most hostels, actually every hostel that I've seen so far, will require you to get your own room. So you won't be able to share a room. So that's kind of been a downfall for me, because usually to book out a room in a hostel, it's about the same price that you would pay to stay in like a budget hotel, like I don't know, what's like just a budget hotel. Like I would say like a 2 or 3-star hotel. So it's not always worth it to do that. But don't ever think that you are too old to stay in a hostel. I have stayed in some hostels before where, actually when I just went to San Francisco, when I went to the San Francisco hostel, there were people there that were in there that were younger. They were, 19, 20, 21, but I saw a lot of people that were like in their 40s and their 50s, people traveling with kids. So don't feel like because you're over 25, you're gonna fill out a place at a hostel. So that is my tip number 1. Let's see here. Tip number 2. Now this is something I just figured out a couple months ago when I did my first hostel stay. So I don't mind staying in hostels. I actually enjoy it. But the one thing I hate the most about staying in a hostel is I hate getting the top bunk. I will do everything in my power to avoid getting the top bunk. But I usually end up with the top bunk because of the way I typically travel. I usually like to land in the city as early as possible in the morning. So like 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And the thing with hostels is you can't check in until like 3 o'clock. So what usually happens is I get to the hostel They won't let me check in, and then instead of sitting around, you know, watching the paint dry, I go out and head out to the city, and then I usually don't get back into the hostel until like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and by that time, everybody has checked in, and I'm stuck with the top bunk, which I hate. So I figured out this trick, and so far I have used it. I used it when I was in San Francisco, and it has worked for me. So if you do not want to end up on the top bunk, this is what you do. Okay, so let's say your flight gets in at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh. First ask if you could check in. You may get lucky, okay? So ask if you can check in. Typically they're gonna tell you no, check-in is not till 3 o'clock. So this is what you do. Ask them if you can pay and settle your bill now. So then what you do is you pay for your room. So instead of coming back later and paying for your room, you ask them if you could pay for your room now and check in later. This usually always works because they want your money, okay? So then at that point you pay. You get the name of the person who basically took your money, you smile nice and big, and you play nice, and you do all that stuff, okay? So then you leave. Then while you're out exploring the city or doing what you do, at around 2:30, 3 o'clock come time for check-in, call the front desk of the hostel and say, "Hi, my name is Courtney. May I speak to so-and-so," whoever the person you spoke to. You get them on the phone with a nice big smile because they can't see it, but they can sense it. And you tell them, "Hey, remember me? I was there this morning at 7 o'clock. Didn't get a chance to check in, but I paid. Hey, is there any way possible? I know your guys are doing check-ins right now. Can you please put me in a bottom bunk?" I have never had anybody tell me no. The only exception to this is where I would see it not working is if they happen to be putting you into a room where all the beds are full and you're like, everybody has been there and you're just joining. So then you're going to end up with whatever they have left. But usually 9 times out of 10, you will be able to get a bottom bunk. So then they say, yes, they'll reserve a bottom bunk for you. Then when you come back to the hostel, when you're done exploring the city, you have your bottom bunk. So that is a tip that I learned and it actually works. So use it. Okay, number 3, and this is a biggie for me. I am bug phobia. I don't like roaches, I don't like spiders, I don't like bed bugs, I don't even like ladybugs, okay? So this was one of the things that put me off with staying in a hostel for the longest time is because I was just thinking like, oh my God, it's gonna be roach infested, it's gonna be dirty, it's gonna be, and don't get me wrong, there are some hostels out there that are roach infested, that are bed bug infested. Me personally, I have been, I'm not gonna say lucky, I have been smart to do my research and I have never ended up in a place like that. Because that's not gonna fly for me. I would be checking out and I would be staying in another place. I don't care how much it costs. I don't share rooms with bugs. So one of the tips that I learned is first, go to the Google. I like to call it the Google. But anyways, go to Google, type in the name of the hostel that you're staying in with the phrase bed bugs or roaches. So let's say you're staying at Acme Hostel, you would type in Acme Hostel bed bugs, Acme Hostel roaches. This will do a search and it will pull up everything from blog posts to articles to reviews on TripAdvisor to things like that of any time somebody has used the name of that hostel with the word roach or with the word bed bug in it. This has always worked for me. So that's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is always check TripAdvisor, always check Yelp. Look at the last 30 days because we don't really care about what the hostel was like 6 months ago, okay? You don't care. You care about what it was like 2 weeks ago, a month ago. So check and see if anybody has mentioned anything about roaches, about bed bugs, about the cleanliness of the facility. Yeah, so if you're like me and you don't like bugs, that actually should be number 1 on the list, but this is not in any particular order. So that is how I do my research on roaches and bed bugs. 4, or did we skip one? 1, 2, okay, yeah, 2, yeah, so we're on number 4. Okay, my number 4 tip is, me personally, I will not stay in a hostel unless it has at least 500 reviews and it has an 80 to 85% or higher rating. The reason I don't stay, and I mean, you may look up and you may get a brand new hostel that only has like 10 reviews. That's great. Somebody's calling me. Why does somebody always call me when I try and do a video? Okay, so back to what I was saying. You may look up and you may get this amazing hostel that has just not been reviewed by that many people. Great. You stay there and you come back and you blog about it and you tell us about it. And then when it gets to 500, I'll go stay there. But until the meantime, if it doesn't have at least 500 reviews, I'm not staying there. That's not a risk that I'm willing to take. But kudos to you. Another thing is I like to stay at a place that has at least an 80% higher rating and at least cleanliness. Because if there's like 60, if it has like a review of like 70%, it's not clean. And that's why I go to at least 80, because I realize that everybody's concept of clean is different. But if 80% of the people staying there saying it's clean, I'm willing to take the chance on that. 60, 70%, I'm going to the Marriott. That's not going to work for me. Okay, number 5 on the list. Do not leave your home to go to a hostel without bringing these 3 things. The first one, flip-flops. Not as a fashion accessory, but to shower with. You are in a room, or you're sharing a bathroom sometimes with 25, 30 people on the floor, unless you are lucky and you have your own private room with, you know, or 4-bed, but even then, that's gross. So bring your flip-flops, use them in the shower. Don't worry about how clean the shower looks. I don't care if it looks spick and span that you can eat off the floor and, you know, and you smell bleach. Don't care. Wear the flip-flops. There is this thing called athlete's feet or athlete's foot. It is invisible. It is serious. You do not want athlete's foot. It sucks, okay? So no matter how clean the shower looks, no matter how clean the floors look outside of that, wear your flip-flops. So wear them in the shower and then also wear them when you're walking around the room. A lot of hostels have carpet, some have hardwood floors. Don't care. Wear your flip-flops. The next thing you want is a power strip. This is number 2 on the list of things you should take with you. A power strip. When I say power strip, some people call them power strip, surge protector, whatever. It's that long strip that has all the little plugs that you can plug into it. Bring it. Because usually when you're staying in a hostel, you get access to 1 plug, 2 if you're lucky. If you're like me, you travel with a phone, you travel with a computer, you travel with a camera, you travel with extra backup power. All this stuff needs to be charged. And it sucks to have to keep switching things out just so that you can make sure that everything is fully charged. So if you bring a power strip, you can plug it in and then you can plug everything in and everything can charge at the same time, which means you can sleep at night as opposed to wondering if you need to get up because your phone is charged and now you can charge your laptop. Don't do that. It sucks. Plus, you can make a friend if you happen to have a roommate who didn't bring one and they need to charge their stuff too. So that is something that I always bring with me. Number 3, a lock. Staying in a hostel, you are sharing a room with 3 other people, sometimes more. I like to think that everybody is honest, but that's not always the case. Me personally, I have never had anything stolen from me, but I don't want it to be the first time. So I always bring a lock with me. Hostels sometimes do sell locks. They sometimes rent locks. They can range anywhere from $4 to $7. Why keep paying that over and over and over again when you can just go down to Wally World and spend $4 once on a lock and be done with it? So always bring a lock for your locker. Do not be that person who thinks it will not happen to you, because guess what? It will. You will come back to your room and your laptop will be gone, your phone will be gone, everything will be gone, and then you will be sad. And then you will be writing a very bad review on Yelp or TripAdvisor about how awful this hostel was when it's your own fault. So yes, make sure you pack a lock. Okay, what is? That was number 5. Okay, so I think those are all 5 of my tips. So let's do a replay. First tip was don't ever think that you are too old or too young to stay in a hostel. Tip number 2, how to get a bottom bunk. It works. Use it. Number 3, roaches and bed bugs and anything that crawls that is not paying rent where it should be paying rent. Look into that. Number 4 is the plugs. Make sure you are, or no, number 4 was the reviews. Was the 500 reviews 80% or higher. And the next one was what to bring with you when you are staying in a hostel. 1 was the flip-flops, 2 was power strips, and 3 with locks. Those are Courtney's top 5 things that you need to know about staying in a hostel. Now, I need everybody to go out and book their very first hostel stay. Oh, word of advice. If you are traveling internationally and you are considering, because that's where hostels are really big, it's like Europe. So if you're traveling internationally and you are kind of on edge about whether you want to stay in a hostel, go to the next town over where you live and book a room just to see what it's like. Usually you can't stay where you live, but if you are a couple miles away, you're good. So try that out, test it out before you actually do it. So that's it. Those are all my tips. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you like or leave a comment if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Bye.